Oh, I know her. Islam. Islam. She's been there on the look. Okay. All right. Let me all right. I feel like I gotta mute one more person. I'm definitely hearing some sound. Okay, it's gone now. Frequently asked questions. Ask. To inquire of. Wait, is it recording? Did y'all hear it record? Yes, record. Ask. To inquire of. Question. Route. Quest. Noun. A seeking. Adventure. Those who make search collectively. Noun. Act of asking. Interrogation. Inquiry. Discussion. Debate. Investigation. Verb transitive. That's what VT mean when you look up a word and you see VT. Just know it's verb transitive. To inquire of by asking questions. Ask to question a witness. Answer. A reply to a question. Call or argument. Also, a correct reply. A reply to charge. Specific law. A counterstatement of facts made in reply to the charges of the complaint in this bill. The solution of a problem. Verb. I don't know what that I stand for. To act in response. To be accountable of. Undertake responsibility. To be in conformity of in correspondence as actions that answer to his appearance. To be adequate. To serve the purpose. Verb transitive. To make answer to a question, remark, charge, etc. To act in response to a question, or to meet successfully by way of explanation, justification, or the like, to comply with, fulfill, or satisfy as a claim or need. So we just read ask, question, and answer. We are aware that much of the information posted on this website has not been made available to most in the traditional education received from the public school systems. This is due to a deliberate intent to dumb down the masses in order to effectuate the intent of the Inquisitionists. See Inter Caetera Divina. The Inquisition intent, also see Black Codes. Similarly, this information has not been applied in the College of Information given the college courses. However, this information is available upon research and inquiry, as many of you are inclined to do. Thus, the purpose of this page to answer inquiries made to us. We also recognize that upon most intent to prove this information incorrect, they find it is correct. This requires study, study, study. We have done a great deal of research already as we search for the other half that has not been told, as directed by Noble Jew Ali. We also recognize that much of the other half is in spiritual knowledge, as one cannot effectively gain standing of themselves and their children without spiritual knowledge. Thus, appropriately termed by Jew Ali, the divine and national movement of the world. There are but few people who know the truth is about man, and that few know that it is foolish to try to impart it to the ignorant. Although the ignorant has finished college, he is a fool right on, being trained to jump through a hoop. The longer he stays in the schools, the better he can jump, and the more vivid will he defend his jumping. That was an excerpt from Moorish Literature, Religious Controversy by Noble Jew Ali. So facts, right? We can all relate to that, right?
Yeah, so you go to university, you know everything. So you went to the university.
Right. People feel that way, right?
How they do.
That 7-year degree. So, important excerpt from preface of 1895 eighth grade final public school test. Preface written by Taj Tariq Bey. It is inviolably impractical and non-productive for any suppressed and oppressed people to properly analyze and understand world history of their own history without having knowledge of the linear processes under which forced servitude and literary destruction took place. Keep in mind that illiteracy was artificially induced upon those held to servitude in North America. Those held to forced servitude in North American territories by the occupying Inquisition colonists from Europe were severely suppressed and denied any formal education for generations. Even informal forms of education were prohibited. The intended effect was to eliminate future generations of those made subject from any intelligible ability to counter the misinformation and altered history imposed by the European occupying forces. Heavy yokes were placed upon the young subjugates at the earliest stages of their lives so that they would not contemplate a questioning of their conditions, nor are those hostiles exercising authority. Thus, ignorance by design became a hallmark of the US demo educational institutions directed at the unprotected people. The codes servile children were and are groomed for the purpose of serving as state-bound chattel and are being cultivated as straw man pawns for for corporate slavery. They are being prepared for use in hard yoke labor and as war fodder. In order to create such expendable personages, a low mental state must be carefully groomed. In order to create such expendable personages, a low mental state must be carefully groomed. To meet this end, colorable conditions artificially induced poverty, taxation without representation, and design miseducation serves its controllers, administrators, and their employed pseudo teachers. Islam Ali Khan Bey, happy holy day.
Islam, happy holy day.
Ali Khan was popping.
Islam, noble, Islam. Islam Moors.
So, answers to frequently asked questions. Question number 1. We are starting a lecture series and study about nationality and commerce and law down here in Louisville. I had a brother show me his travel card and identification that he received from information from lecture series when the brothers was in Indianapolis. Is it necessary to have a travel card, and how can we in Louisville get more information to get up to date with the processes of the ID? So far, I have all my paperwork in at the in in my permanent file with the county and apostles with the state. The ID I have now compared with the other brother or whatnot, appearances is not as prestigious as his. Can anybody help so we can unite and have one ID? So what I read is like questions that the RV Bay publications get. They get a volume of questions similar to this. They summarized it, and they're going to summarize the answer. Answer: we have a uniform card that has been available for 7 years now, and as a result of what it expresses allodially, it is accepted in many places across the planet. The more IDs in your Moorish nature, the better. One can certainly have a temple card, meaning you are a member of a temple, and a national ID, a student ID, etc. The key is that it expresses properly those allodial characters. Anything in writing or published is but a brief that expresses your position regarding a matter, whatever that matter may be. inclusive of the national ID, which is printed, therefore published, therefore valid as identification. Also refer to USC 1028, which is in Title 18. That's basically commonly known as CR, Criminal Resource Manual 1508. Also refer to USC 1028 to be better versed, therefore more secure yourself as to what you are presenting and that what you are presenting is in fact valid. Then you will see how your national card changes in your pocket. Another answer for that first question up here. The variations in Moorish American identification cards came about with some of the many new conscious Moors after making efforts to obtain them from some temples and being able to acquire Moorish identification cards from the temples, or with some of them becoming frustrated by limited communications or other roadblocks, began making their own Moorish identification cards by studying and operating under the self-authority of birthright actuation. In due time, however, and as Moors become more educated, organized, and adept in their Moorish science and high culture, their consciousness will ascend to an even higher plane of level of social and governmental understanding. And many of these troubled things and unbalanced circumstances will dissolve. The progressive Moors among us will then have the credibility to communicate the already existing foundation gnosis of Moorish history, law, spiritual, philosophy, and culture. This is a part of the cycle of human development from a state of debasement to a more allodial self, preserving recognition of nationality. In the social and political realm of human endeavors, the word unity and the word nationality are synonymous. The word unity and the word nationality are synonymous in organizational and associate function. When the newly conscious Moors learn of the ancient principles, they themselves will agree and encourage unity of form and structure. Meanwhile, as we tread this journey towards freedom, justice, and sovereign right, we must acknowledge and address the reality of the need to teach our people those things which are necessary for their and our becoming better citizens of our redeemed Moorish nation, and having a functional knowledge of the benefits and the responsibilities that are assigned to that corrected status. Question number 2. And is there any questions about the questions or the answers thus far before I move forward?
No.
All right. Question 2. I first like to tell you how great this website is. I domicile in the Bronx. I wanted to know if you offer any classes on birthright and nationality for someone like me who is just learning. I am reading as much as possible, but would like additional information, particularly what steps I need to claim my nationality and birthright. Thank you so much for the information here. Answer. After completing 12 years of civics classes in the National Theater at New York and currently broadcasting 5 programs under MHHS Eyes Wide Open Blog Talk every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. and every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m., we are just about reading to provide a new live classroom experience. Most classes will be broadcast over blog. However, there will also be closed classes. You will have to pre-sign up for them, and when announced, you will receive instructions via email. In the meantime, in between time, visit the site and continue to study. Question number 3. After studying the Moors Order of the Round Table, I am of a national mindset and conscious to proceed in obtaining my natural rights, birthrights, and rightful name. I would like to become a bona fide and legitimate Moor, carry the name with the L on it, and the entire rights associated with my rightful name. Can you assist me? Answer. Thank you for your interest and activity. However, The universe thanks you more. Nationality is not really a process, except if when it starts in the mind, as you now already know, if you didn't before. It has apparently awakened in you, thus declaring it is to be clear yourself and does not necessarily require any paperwork, but does require study to be clear yourself, as you can only be what you know. Proclaiming is the publishing, and that is where the paperwork comes from. Anything in written form is but a brief expression but a brief expressing your position regarding a matter, whatever that matter may be, and that includes the card itself, which is a brief and lawful claim. Second answer to question 3. Your Moorish nationality belongs to you and resides with you. Now and whilst you were gestating in your mother's womb, as she expressed the building of Temple of Life from the elements of earth, filtered through the gates of her magnificent form, and molded that constellation, marked the temple for your spirit, man, to acclimate to during the particular cycle of your ongoing sojourn towards perfected man. Now know that your physical temple or body is genetically coded, coming down from your ancient foremothers and forefathers. Your divine natural person being is manifested to express the monad, spirit on the physical plane. Your and my Moorish American nationality is a fact without doubt or contradiction, and descended down from your ancestors, the ancient Moabites, Moroccans, Moors, Murs, etc. Thus, your nationality is a bona fide birthright inheritance and is a pedigree reality. The issue before you and many others is that of a lack of consciousness of identity, status, and the probable misrepresentation by others who may have created straw man fiction creature instruments and make claims upon you under the allegations of abandonment, and thereby initiated fraudulent power of attorney assertions against your body, your lands, and your inheritances. This has been a long-lived practice by corporate state Europeans used to steal the natural people's hereditaments. The subject matter of consciousness of these anthropological and inherited facts must be resolved in your mind. Traitors amongst us, no, you back up, must be resolved in your mind and begin to be reflected in your activities of social, legal, and commercial interchanges. Expect opposition from traitors amongst us and from racketeering European politicians and from anti-constitutional color of law state, city, and municipal officers. These types of legal crimes are at the heart of colonialism and are practiced by its secret society members. Question number 4. I am really confused. I want to be nationalized so bad, but it seems to be so many scams out here. I have been doing a lot of reading on Moorish history as well as watching a lot of videos, which are on YouTube. I know they have temples, but when I call, I get no one. I try to email them, but nothing, no response. I really am searching for some honest answers, sister. I just want to make the right decision. The most important thing is I will be a Moor. So my question to you is, when do I join? The fact that I am a Moor will remain regardless if I'm with the Moorish Science Temple or with any other group, right? Nationalized is nationalized, right? Answer. Nationality is free. It is yours by consanguine, birthright, primogeniture, and inheritance. Study, and you will be qualified to separate the truths from the falsehoods. Know that which is valid from which is invalid, and recognize that which is constitutional from that which is unconstitutional. Answer 2. If you study the principles of nationality, typically no one can scam you. However, it happens. I believe that every 20 years or so, there is some major redirection and derailing of the forward movement gained in the rise of the consciousness that leads one to have a conscience of national principles. It scatters the people, confuses them, and there you have classic infiltration. You must study to have eyes to see and ears to listen. I also believe the basic fundamental thing to be clear of is that the USA is not an authoritative government over natural people because it is a company, a union company or corporation. The first thing is to know this is to be true, and then we would not be so confused on what they do with their company operating on the land, and maybe more focused on what we need to do in order to be who we say we are. The chronological history must be told and must be received as it is documented as such. This does not mean you are bucking the government or think you are above the law, not at all. As a Moor, you are to know the law, therefore be able to recognize when someone, some entity, anyone, any entity, company, corporation, enclave, or agency of same is violating the law against you. Thus, again, must study to know. Anyone can have a government or be a governor of whatever they are governing. That does not mean they are above the law of this land. Question 5. I am having some difficulty in my life and I need some guidance. I've been fighting with Rome for some time now, and I need to make right moves to shut some of these agencies down. I really need to talk to someone, to sit down and discuss some important issues in my life. I need to get an understanding of my situation. I'm fighting now, but I feel like I'm getting nowhere. Peace and love. Answer. Our natural people's enforcement of the Constitution is what will shut the fraudulent agencies down. Continue to visit RV Bay Publications website and study. We will be adding more constructive and progressive information on a timely basis. If you come to the classes, which will now be in Vineland, New Jersey, we will provide access to speak with you then. Otherwise, based on geographic logistics, mail communications are our best communication at this time. Question 6. I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I'm currently an avid listener of Moors Heritage and History School on Harlem Rising Radio. I've only been made aware, Moors about 2 months ago, and I'm amazed at the truth that is being disseminated. It was Brother Taj Tariq Bey and Brother Sabir Bey that has led me to the truth about sovereignty and nationality. It was registered as a Metis with the Manitoba Metis Federation and the municipal district known as Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, but withdrew my status with them last week, finding out that they registered with the MMF as Metis would put me under corporate ward status. I want to become part of the solution and really don't know where to go from here. As Taj is married to the cause, well, so am I. If there is an organization in Winnipeg that anybody know that I could get involved with, great, if I could get that info. I just want to say thanks to Brother Taj and Brother Sabir for opening my eyes to the truth about sovereignty and nationality. Peace. Answer to that question. Manitoba Province Territory, a political subdivision of Canada, is still in fact a northern part of the Moroccan Empire, land of the ancient Moabite Moors. Thus, this is also Moorish land that was usurped by European Inquisition colonists. Being Moorish American, you can refer to the writs of freedom for use, study, and application as placed on the rvbaypublications.com website for all Moorish Americans. Read them all and clear up your concepts of identity, status, and gain a concept of basic protocols for protecting and standing for your substantive rights. Also see, acquire, and study the booklet entitled Confused About Taxes and Correcting Position with the IRS. Remember that Aboriginal natural peoples are not to be taxed by the foreigners. Study. Question 7. I am writing a court in Virginia in which I reside in Kentucky. An affidavit demand for dismissal default judgment. Is it necessary to writ Kentucky Secretary of State and others about this, or wait until I write a writ of mandamus? How long do I write a writ of mandamus? Answer. Do not abbreviate states and locations in your correspondences. Always address these colorable ministerial courts and court officers with your judicial proclamations and tickets, dismiss writs, etc. The reasoning for CC inclusions to other government department officials, we are to make them in the official capacities aware of the criminality that has taken place in these municipalities by the unclean hands of their employees, court officers, magistrates, etc. Review the laws covering color of law activities, racketeering, and RICO Act. Their failure to act upon notification, this criminal information reports a crime, establishes a future legal suit and claim of conspiracy, arbitrary fraud, and collusion, which of course, with their long history of corruption being apparent by their profiling practices, most of these colorable officers have already practiced in the past. As you know, a writ of mandamus is a command issued from the higher courts and addresses the officials of the private law and municipal courts being inferior and out of order to perform according to the law of the land and to correctly perform their fiduciary duties in accord with their limited and specific delegated political, ministerial, or judicial positions. And the rights of the complainant, you, must be restored. That was the functions of a writ of mandamus. This should be activated on a more regular basis and early in the legal process due to the rampant corruption plaguing the cities, boroughs, and towns of the country. You must always remember that abbreviated designations used by the state of whatever operatives is cribbed to subvert the state republics. These acts are done to convert the republics into foreign colorable demo jurisdictions and under foreign law. The issuing corrupted status of your correspondence is used against you. These grammatical alterations are designed to steal your unalienable rights and to violate your birthrights. Do not abbreviate. Question 8. How do I proclaim my nationality? So I can teach my kids about their rich history and their birthrights. I want to teach them at an early age so they don't go through the things I went through. You can contact me by phone or email. I am truly sincere. I want to nationalize and learn how to apply it. Answer. Noble Drew Ali founded the Moorish Divine and National Movement of the North America and the world. In order to address the nationality and birthright issues of the fallen Moors, Aboriginals of the Northwest and the planet, visit the nearest Moorish Holy Temple of Science or Moorish Science Temple of America, and I am sure you can begin your redemption journey. If you run into difficulties, which sometimes occur, then continue to study and remedy will come to you, just as the wind moves across your face to awaken your cellular consciousness. So comes again the love from your ancient mothers and fathers. a conscious sister or brother will come to your assistance, and your request will be granted in accord with your honor. Note, do not call the children kids. It means billy goats. Remember that juris equals right and diction equals words. Any questions before I move forward with question 9?
No.
Nope.
All right. Question 9, regarding UCCs. Islam, good day. I want someone to work with me in regards to UCC codes and UCC financing. I am also interested in becoming sharp on judicial notice and proclamation. I've always felt upright and close to the Creator, but wasn't knowledgeable about things and therefore felt victim and left broke without understanding why when I work so hard. I live in Louisville, Kentucky. I am working as a master barber and study very hard, but can't find others like myself to work with. Any suggestions or advice would be great. Answer. Keep in mind that the commercial codes essentially and factually means codes for trafficking and to carry on trade. My first question to you is, do you have a clear understanding of what birthrights and unalienable rights are? Are you aware that unalienable rights cannot be transferred to or sold to another? I am sure you are aware that the commercial codes did not come from uniform until about 1968, with the Texas State Republic officials bowing to pressure and agreeing to play the state of Texas fraud game of commercializing or trading the natural people's rights in collusion with the other compromised state officials and politicians. I suggest you study and enforce the Constitution for the United States Republic of America and enforce the laws relative to your nationality and birthrights. Note, do not confuse commercial activity with nationality and bloodline. Also, keep in mind that the Constitution for the United States is the supreme law of the land and is derived from ancient Moorish jurisprudence. U.S. demo politicians, educators, and many other corporate persons operating out North America are members of the demos, are subversives, and against the Constitution, having no allegiance to the Republic. They do not want you or any other Aboriginal or citizens to be cognizant of this blinding fact. Verily, many of the officers of the various ministerial courts, tribunals, not constitutionally sanctioned, are traitorous racketeers who are working together with others to rob and to steal from the natural people. They are using their bought and sold seats in government to enforce fraudulent private color of law and systematically connive to substitute the supreme law of the land with their foreign corporate policies and ordinances. This is at the root of most of the common people's economic problems and the current lack of due process, railroading that is used to feed penal industry. Many of the politicians and the judges of ministerial courts have invested interests in these profitable domestic POW camps, prisons, and jails. These anti-republic institutions and the colorable acts of these officers are constructed to cause injury and to place their fraud based in non-substantive implied contract originating debts upon natural people. Now that they, European occupiers, are aware of the natural people becoming aware of the truth about nationality and birthrights, some of them have been promoting to use the Uniform Commercial Codes, UCCs, as a remedy for attaining sovereignty. Logically, anyone and everyone should be educated in the areas of contract law due to the fact that we contract every day in some form or another. When we are interchanging with others, however, I will remind you and others recognize the integrity of the nation, that the sovereignty that many of the Europeans are arguing over is not their own, but is actually the sovereignty rights of the Aboriginal and Indigenous Moors, whom the Europeans have colonized and usurped. The misrepresenting Europeans are debating among themselves with their corrupt rulers, who have, in cabal with them, robbed the Moors of their lands and of their birthrights. This land, Amexem, Africa, Americas, is not Europe, and the sovereign powers over the land and the resources are not theirs, and have and never was theirs to possess nor to claim jurisdiction over. Their claims are all of a corporate fiction character, artificially created on paper and fraudulently propagated to the world. Their success has a root in blind faith and fiction altogether. The present fiat, corruptive, fake economic, political conditions, the defrauding of the people of the United States and the world, etc., arises from their foul, entrenched inquisition policies. They know this and work diligently to keep these Masonic secrets from you, the rightful heirs. The inner working conflicts over our silver, gold, and commerce reflects a truth that the divided and cunning thieves among them are bickering over ill-gotten booty and prize spoils, and are seething immoral arguments over escheated hereditaments. Let this first be made clear to all Moorish Americans. This is your lost estate, the land, the gold, the silver, and the commerce belonging only to the true primogeniture, heir, citizen of the land, and to them alone. Nationalized. As for the UCCs, know that Section 8 and Section 2 relates to those important aspects which govern securities. Most of the people who sell UCC packages to the unstudied among us usually fail to emphasize this important fact. They will usually put highlights on Section 1 and 3. However, remember this: a UCC1 is to be filed only by one who, in commerce, already has a valid contract in the first instance. If this is not the precondition, then one has just created the jurisdiction of a commercial trade of self, personam jurisdiction, which is not the intended outcome of the chosen UCC initiated action. In due course of time, all instruments built upon the fraud must fall. Declare your nationality and enforce the Constitution. The seller gets your limited energy regulating bookkeeping certificates, fiat, and the corrupt corporate state operative gets windfall profits and the filing fees. Tell me now, who has the advantage? Nationalize, study all the aspects and implications of its political and social remedies. Note, a birth certificate is not a valid contract. It is the instrument that proves human trafficking, and your mother did not agree to it as a conscious contract. So once again, everybody should study contract law and all the elements of a valid contract. It's about like 10 bullet points, 7 main ones, but y'all should get fluid in that area. Question 10. The state of Kentucky is trying to force me in court and show them a driver's license. I want to file an affidavit before my court date appearance. Help. Answer. Do not abbreviate the states and or other locations and entities. Capitalize where grammatically correct. That grammatical violation creates a deceptive and foreign jurisdiction. Refer to the writ of freedom sector of the rvbaypublications.com website and use the writ entitled Judicial Notice and Proclamation, and other writ which is entitled Ticket Dismissed. Read driver's license fraud. When filing evidence and exhibits, always place the case number, which is assigned to the municipalities, usually misrepresented accusation instruments. Mark each of your correspondences as exhibits of evidence in the case. Always have your affidavits of fact or writs introduced and filed with the ministerial courts and or other quasi-agencies before you make your special appearance before the anti-constitutional and foreign law tribunals. Send certified copies of your proclamations and writs to the prosecutor, accuser in the case, to the alleged judge, and the clerk of the courts, etc. Know that licenses are required of commercial corporations and not of the natural people, of the natural persons, nor of the natural beings of the land. Study some of the Supreme Court cases, which we have places in the text for your approbation. You should also issue to the prosecutor and judge in the case an averment of jurisdiction. Remember that the sovereign power is not inherent in government. The sovereign power, right, and power resides in the true natural citizens and in them alone. Being conscious of your Moorish nationality and birthrights and being active in your proper person status, being yourself confirms your competence to exercise such rights without the fictionally implied power of attorney or unauthorized leave assumed by the less than honorable officers of the municipal courts. Any questions before I move forward?
No.
Question 11. I want to get my paperwork done and learn, get true knowledge. I truly want to study with Taj. I'm in Delaware. Do you give classes anywhere near Delaware or PA? Answer. Do not approach this Moorish humanitarian movement with a naive mind and get caught up in the contemporarily practiced misjudgment of what has come to be known as the paper chase. You need to have a sound, testable, and functional background and knowledge about the evolution and the developmental ins and outs of this Moorish movement in North America. It is vital that you also be grounded in basic ancient American and world history at boot. Know that you will be tried and tested by the corporate state operatives, for they are Masons and Eastern Stars, etc. Most of them will play dumb when dealing with you, but know for a surety that they are aware of your true nationality and of the fact that they are enforcing colonial extortion policies. Most of them are secret society inquisitionists and crusaders. This is why legitimate Moorish American organizations will also teach you civics, jurisprudence, history, Moorish culture, and fundamental constitutional law. The paperwork concerning the activation of protocols for issuing legal notices, affidavits, and writs, etc., are necessary aspects of a broader nationality active, spiritual, and civic plane of development and involvement. Let it be known for the record that subverting opportunists and con artists are all over the country, working to undermine the positive activities of the Moorish divine and national movement. The demos did not end their works with the Coolidge and Hoover administrations of the Union State Society anti-constitutionalists and with their misguiding influences amongst trader overseers operating amongst our own. Some of these less than honorable persons are seizing the informational consciousness advantage over some of the newly conscious Moors who have, by whatever means, discovered the truth about their nationality and their birthrights. Study yourselves and remember that unalienable rights cannot be transferred to nor sold to another. Governments and organized clubs, etc., do not give rights. they have no rights to give. Government and civic organizations exist for one purpose, and that is to preserve and to secure the divine and natural birthrights, unalienable rights, which are by nature's law and nature's God principles, the pre-existing rights of all humanity. Know that your Moorish nationality and birthrights are not for sale, as these incorporeal hereditaments are primogeniture inheritance and heirship coming down from your ancient mothers and fathers, and they are also of consanguine nature or bloodline nature. Study the roots, purpose, and the development of the Moorish movement initiated by Noble Drew Ali, Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, in Northwest Maxim, Northwest Africa, North America. Study world history and the Inquisition, Black codes, and be aware that whenever someone amongst the Aboriginal establishes order amongst those who have been or are suffering oppression and mental slavery, the Roman European Albion have always sought to infiltrate, undermine, and to destroy such organizations and natural persons. Keep in mind that the Roman colonists have never forgotten their Inquisition mission. In spite of that fact, that many Aboriginals have forgotten that they are colonists and extortionists by social and political agenda. The passage of time will never change that fact. Nevertheless, in the face of the European demo corruption, the Moors have made substantive strides and success, which have come about due to the principal Moorish divine and national movement. This is to remind you to keep on your toes and to be diligent. Get a solid foundation, knowledge about the Moorish divine and national movement founded by Noble Drew Ali, and accentuate your knowledge about world history and contract law, about jurisprudence, about etymology, about unalienable rights versus licensed privileges, about status and its relationship to a state, about the law of evidence concerning identity, about the study of and the enforcement of the Constitution for the United States of America and why. Learn about the study of the Spanish Inquisition, initiated and operated for centuries and institutionalized in U.S. demo operation in these days against the Moors and Yehudi, or the Jews. Learn about the Enlightenment brought about for Europe through and by the Renaissance of the 14th, 15th, and 16th centuries, initiated in Italy by the Moors, etc. Then, but not limited to the foregoing, you will have an unshakable and qualified understanding and resolve as to the purpose and the functions of these Moorish name, attributes, and status, correcting documents, affidavits, and general writs, etc. You will also have greater and more profound understanding of the roles of these documents play at this time to benefit uplifting the Moorish nation of the Western Hemisphere and the world. In the interim, and with the right law and allodial considerations about the true nationality and birthrights of my people, I have placed a few affidavits and writs on the RBPublications.com website for the free access for the rightful free use of them by all Moorish Americans. The reasoning is for reaching out to the nation in spite of economic and political oppressions initiated by the corporate state quasi-government agencies who are violating by conspiracy and color the law of the land. These writs and judicial notices, etc., are to give notice to the nations of the earth that we, the Moors, are aware of our nationality, our birthrights, the geographical longitudes and latitudes of our lost estate, and that we are active in our efforts to display our claims to our inheritances and to our competency to attain to self-authority, our sovereign right. The initiating of valid law defenses of the Moorish nationality and birthrights are expressed by the allodial rights to use these writs of freedom. Study those writs and the nature of the presentments made therein. Use them rightly with a consciousness of their amendatory declarations. Embrace them and apply them with integrity. These public record and public publication communications are for the support of and are of Moorish American prerogative, invoked as an affirmation of your and my Moorish birthrights and of our divine rights to acknowledge, to possess, to exercise, and to enjoy the said rights. As you and we, the nation, develop and involve in our degrees of knowledge, understanding, and insights into our Moorish affairs, will become more adept in our skills and abilities to contribute to uplifting of all humanity. When the mind changes to the positive, the conditions will follow. The current negative conditions are obvious. Work towards justice for and with self, man, and the nations, and prepare to take your proper person place amongst the greater family. With the exercising of the mind, you will be well qualified to produce your own writs for the defense of that which is right, true, honorable, and socially, politically correct. Question 12. I need some advice. How should I go about addressing the municipal court of whom I contracted with prior to me waking up and getting nationalized through my temple? Also, the other issue is motor vehicles with the surcharges that I have been paying them. My main question is, in your opinion, how should I address the situation with them? I contracted with the municipal court under TDC, or threat, duress, and coercion, and the straw man was obligated to pay that court a certain amount of fee out a month. Next, through extortion, they contracted with motor vehicles, so I ended up paying both of them off at certain times of the month. I have stopped paying them both for a few months now. The question is, do I send them an affidavit of fact? I just need some advice on how to go about both situations. I want to put them in check, but I want to come correct. What should I do? Answer. Refer to the Writs of Freedom sector of the RV Bay Publications website and use the writ entitled Judicial Notice or Proclamation, and another writ which is entitled Tickets Dismissed. Always place the case number which is assigned to the municipality's accusation instruments, and mark each of your correspondences as exhibits of evidence in the case. Always have your affidavits of facts or writs introduced and filed with the ministerial courts and or other quasi-agencies before you make your special appearance before the foreign law tribunal. Send certified copies of your proclamations or writs to the prosecutor/accuser in the case, to the alleged judge, and to the clerk of the courts, etc. This is a fundamental establishment of status and the entering of evidence in the case is a rights-preserving activity relating to the protocols of liberty. Related to the protocols of liberty. These or related protocols should be actuated by all Aboriginal national person citizens of the land, since we are suffering under the occupation of the foreign European exploiters of the planet and natural peoples. A diversity of nationality and a diversity of citizenship is in fact a true political reality in our intersocial relationship with the European immigrant descendants. Be clear on your consciousness and connection to your Moorish nationality and of the civic responsibilities which it commands to the enforcement of the Constitution contract, which binds those in government to the law, Constitution, and treaties. I'm actually gonna stop right there. Turn this recording off.